I am Ashley. I am 25 years old and I am from Massachusetts.
How long have you lived in Massachusetts for, Ashley?
A little over 10 years.
10 years. And where are you from originally?
I was born in New York, but obviously wherever my parents are is where I end up.
And what do you do for work?
I currently work at a call center for a maintenance company.
And how long have you been doing that for?
I literally just started that. Before that, I worked at a couple different hotels for about 7 years-ish.
And what do you make a year right now at the call center?
Not enough. I don't know the exact number, but I think it's probably between 25,000 and like 30,000. Not a lot.
So you're getting paid like $12 to $15 an hour right now? What's your hourly rate?
18 now.
18. So about 36,000. You're working 40 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay. So 18 is about $36,000 a year, roughly, rough estimate. So, okay. And what's your monthly, how long have you been working at that job for?
The new one for 2 weeks now. The hotels before, I worked 3 different ones. One of them I worked almost 3 years, then the pandemic hit, and then the other one I worked a year, and then another one I worked for 6 months before I got this one.
And so your first paycheck has not hit yet for this new gig yet, has it?
It has. Thankfully, it is a weekly paying job, so it doesn't make me cry too much.
And what's your weekly take-home pay then?
About 500, a little bit over 500 after taxes.
A little over 500. And does it have any deductions, health insurance, or anything like that taken out?
No, I am still currently under my parents' insurance, so I don't have to pay that.
So we'll call it 520. Is that about right?
Yeah, about.
Okay, so net take home a month. You multiply that by 4, then we got about 2,100. That's for 4 weeks. Typically a little bit over 4 weeks in a month. So we'll call it about 2,200 for net take home pay right now. 2 weeks into the job, weekly paying job. How much were you making before at the hotels?
18 also.
Okay. And what made you swap from the hotels to this call center job?
Because of my financial situation, I don't love doing overtime, but if it's necessary, I'll do it. So with my last hotel, it didn't have it. So I needed to find something with overtime ability.
And so what's the capabilities of overtime here? How many hours can you do a week?
As many as I want. They don't have a limit, thankfully.
And is it time and a half with overtime?
Yes.
Awesome. So you can be making $27 an hour if you work overtime.
Yes.
We're going to dive into this because one of the ideas or things you're going to have to do probably get out of this hole we're in currently is be working at some overtime shifts. So
yes.
So how would you rate your current financial situation on a scale of 1 to 10?
How would you describe like 1?
1 being horrific, the worst humanly possible, and 10 as picture perfect.
I would say it's probably at a 4.
Okay. And
it's horrible, but not too horrible.
Let's dive into the current debts then while we're at it. So what are your current debts across the board?
Mostly it is my credit cards. I do have some school debt, but I haven't had to pay them quite yet. But it's mainly the credit card debts that are really killing me a little bit.
So we got credit card loans of about $28,000, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
and that's at about 28% interest.
Yes.
We got student loans. Is that $10,000? And do you know what the interest rate is on that?
I have no idea.
Are you aware that student loan repayment starts in October?
Yes.
Do you know what your minimum payment is going to be come October?
No.
That's something you need to look at after this call then, because that's something that you need to understand. It's coming quick.
Yeah, it is coming quick.
So we got $38,000 in debt there, and then car loan. What's that at right now?
I believe it's at 26 now.
26. You sent me 22, so the number's off.
Maybe
one of the numbers is off.
I think in total that's what it was, but I've already paid some of it off.
Okay, so it was 26,000 when you bought it, and then
22. Yeah,
22 is currently. How long have you had that car?
Actually, a little over a year now.
What kind of car is it?
Toyota Corolla 2022.
And what made you buy that new car?
My Prius was given up. I drove it till the very end, so it was time for another car. And instead of
you decided to spend $26,000 making $30,000 a year on the new car?
At that time, I did not have this debt.
So it was a
smart choice then.
Even at the time, buying a $26,000 car making $30,000 a year is not a smart financial decision.
Paying the car originally, my dad was helping me out with it until he couldn't. Yes. So now
typically, at least this is what Dave Ramsey teaches, and I'm personally even think it should be lower than this, but like you shouldn't have more than 50% of your gross income in vehicles, things with engines. I personally think it should be lower than that. My wife and I were a lot lower than that because I drive a 13-year-old car, I think it is, or no, it's 15 years old now. It's a 2008 truck, and then we have a Tiguan as well. But between both of those, we try to stay far, far below 50% of gross income just in regards to vehicles because they break, they have issues, and frankly, I'm not a car person. So getting from point A to B, as long as it gets me there, that's all I care about.
Right. Makes sense.
I mean, heck, I do like the autonomous driving and stuff that vehicles do have, but I'm not going to go buy a $100,000 Tesla just for fun.
Oh no.
Because there's no point. It gets me from point A to point B just as any other vehicle does. But that being said, my thought process on buying cars is, hey, if you can't pay for it in cash, you can't afford it, because then you run into instances where life happens and you need to be throwing money at other things that you thought you could afford the car payment, and now you still got in your case, a $440 a month car payment that's being sucked out of you right now when you got other expenses that have come up since you first financed the car. So in my opinion, I think it's always best to just pay for it cash, save up for it. If you can't afford to pay for it in cash, then shouldn't be financing it, especially 85% of your gross income, like when you initially financed it. But we'll kind of dive into more on the car stuff as well as we go through this. So we got those three different debts: student loans, 10,000, credit cards, 28, car loans, about 22.7 right now. So that brings total debts to $60,700.
Yep. Sounds about correct.
And assets. What assets do we have right now? Do we have any retirement accounts, investment accounts?
No. I mean, I have a few from like work, but they don't have much of anything in there. They have like probably each $100 in there or something. Nothing enough to do anything.
In terms of bank account balance, what do we have in there right now?
Right now in my savings, I have about $100 and checking about $100 because everything goes towards the debt instead of doing other things.
Yeah, I see the statement ending in July 18th has $13 ending that statement period. So definitely we'll kind of dive into this further, but at first glance, a 4 is being generous on the scale of 1 to 10. But that's what we're here. We're here to talk about that. We're here to help you figure out a plan. What can we cut back on? What are some options here? Yes. Because I want you to succeed. I want you to get out of this current hole. We got $60,000 worth of debt here, which is not a 25. I'm sure it's not a fun feeling. And
no,
with all the money going out and going towards interest, going towards the bank. So what did you go to college for?
Psychology.
What did you study? Psychology?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you graduate?
2 years ago.
And so $10,000 was the only amount of loans that you took out for school, or were there other lones prior to that you've paid off?
No, that was just for school. Okay. Because thankfully I had most of that paid down and everything at the time too. So. And
what are your future career goals?
Eventually I want to do therapy in schools, but I need to go back to school. But since I owe the money, I can't go back until I'm done paying that off at some point because they're like holding my transcript, so I can't really apply to other schools.
Oh, until you pay off the student loans for your original school. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what kind of therapy do you want to do in schools?
Just general therapy.
General guidance counselor or?
No, like actual like mental health therapy.
Oh, okay. Awesome. And what age would your ideal range be in schools?
Ideally, it would be middle school and high school because I feel like that's the time where it's like the hardest to really figure out.
I think that's an awesome career goal. I mean, definitely middle schoolers and high schoolers need a lot of help with that, especially with social media and everything that's happening on there these days. Right. A lot of mental health struggles and stuff. So definitely a great career goal to have and to chase. And let's figure out a way to get you back to school to be able to cash flow grad school to then be able to go do this full time in school. So growing up, Massachusetts, what did your parents teach you about money growing up?
Not much of anything. My mom worked 3 jobs at one point. My dad's worked almost the same job pretty much most of my life. And, my mom didn't, most of the time if we wanted stuff, we couldn't really have any like really nice things, just the essentials. So didn't really know about money.
Did they ever teach you about money or talk about money around the house growing up?
Not that I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think they really talked about money at all around me or my siblings.
Do you talk with them about money now or just still on at this time?
A little bit, but not really. Like once in a while we'll like be open about it, but other times we're just like really quiet. We don't really talk about it that much.
And how many siblings do you have?
I have 4.
You talk about money with them at all, or it's kind of across the board and no one really talks about money at home?
With my siblings, we're all open about money.
How have you tried to learn about money, or what have you learned about money over the last few years, kind of graduating in college and going to the real world?
In general, I I've like in high school, I've taken like economics classes and other classes similar in between, but like I've never really fully learned a lot about money. Like I've learned a little bit about like cryptocurrency and that stuff, but I don't know everything about anything.
That's the last thing you need to learn about money right now when we got sixty
Yeah,
thousand
like
dollars
I
worth
just
of debt right
get so
now.
curious. I'm like, I need to absorb all the information, but I don't know anything.
Yeah, crypto. Yes, if you're out of debt and you want to throw a small portion of your income towards crypto, do it.
Yeah,
Whatever, as long as you don't care what happens with that money. Single stock, same thing. But besides that, if you're in $60,000 worth of debt or any debt whatsoever, all that money should be going towards debt, not crypto at all.
right.
What got you into crypto? Was it TikTok or Instagram or something?
No, just general people talking about it, and I was just curious because I'm like, what is it about? I've never heard of it before, so I'm like, you know what? Let's take a look, see what it is, and I'm like, makes no sense to me.
It's it has a long way to go to reach mass adoption or reach scale in the US, but
Right.
definitely a lot of money and interesting things happening in it right now. So let's dive into a few things here. Credit card debt. You said at the time of financing this vehicle, so that was about a year ago, a little over a year, you financed that vehicle. You didn't have this credit card debt.
I did not.
So what's happened over the last year? If you had zero credit card debt at the time, and now you got 28,000.
Yeah.
What's happened during that time?
In that time, I was at one of the hotels, and things were things were getting a little more expensive. So I was looking for a different job. So I cut back on time to try and find a newer job closer because, gas is getting expensive and all that. So then I thought I had a different job and I got scammed thinking that I was going to get into more money. I ended up relying on the credit cards a little bit more to like pay bills and everything. So that's how it piled up instead of having that job.
Talk me through that. So what happened with getting scammed with the job?
So I was looking for something to work at home because we were still not really allowed to be outside too much. So I went on, I think, Indeed, and I applied to the job, and it was just inspecting packages and then sending them off to wherever. And they promised, I think, about 3,000 a month for it, or maybe a little less. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. Easy, simple, nice thing to do. And then after the 90-day period, suddenly everything stopped. No contact, nothing was working, no emails. I couldn't get into their magic portal to check the packages and everything. So, and then I did more research on it after that. I wasn't the only one that was scammed for this also.
Did you ever get paid for that?
No.
So you went 90 days without a paycheck, and there wasn't that wasn't a red flag after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks without getting paid?
So I wasn't too worried about it at the time because I still had some income. So I wasn't just solely relying on that. I was just thinking that I was getting that money though.
And how many hours a week were you working at the hotel when all this started?
I originally was working 40 hours. Then I went down to, I think, 28, maybe 30.
Okay, so your income went down. I mean, it's about $200 a week before taxes. So $1,000 a month, and that went on for 90 days. Did you ramp your hours back up after that? Because I guess
yeah, I did.
And $1,000 a month for 3 months is $3,000 that you didn't have coming in. But we got $28,000 in credit cards. So I'm just trying to figure out where all that spending is coming from.
Yes. So I did go back to the full hours, and then I switched to a different hotel, which was closer to home, and stuck to the 40 hours.
So what was majority of this $28,000 spent on though? If you were debt free, no credit card debt, took on this job, so you cut your hours for 10 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
We got 3 months of working 10 hours less a week, so that's $1,000 a month. But then we got $28,000 in credit card debt.
Yes. So it was generally just my own spending and then all of the bills in general. Because I had, obviously, at that point, I had the card due, and then I had the car insurance. Then I had, because I pay some of the bills in the house, I had those. What else do I do?
It sounds like your spending increased a lot too during this time then.
Yes, it did.
So
I got a little crazy.
So the car payment, you signed the car note, and you're like, okay, I can afford this.
Yeah.
Dad was helping me pay for it some. Dad stopped, help before or help there. You cut your hours. So you got $400 more a month in car payments. You got $1,000 or less in income because you cut your hours, and then your spending increases. So it's just a mesh of a lot of things happening at once that aren't going in the right direction.
Yes. And then I had one credit card originally, then I had a second one for the house stuff, which was fine because, to fix stuff around the house, and that was simple. Then I had a situation where we were supposed to go on a trip, and I didn't get the refund for that quite yet. So it made my account go more than the limit was supposed to be. So I got another one thinking that would help me to keep it balanced so I wouldn't have that I'm like over my balance. That's how I got the third credit card there.
So I decided to take out another credit card to go on a trip.
No, so I was originally using my first card for a trip. And then because of the pandemic still, we couldn't go, but they didn't tell us ahead of time that any of the rules were still that we couldn't go anymore. Like I did all the research before we were trying to go to the airport that we still were allowed to go, but they had just extended their quarantine where we were going. So they didn't update anything to say that we couldn't leave the country to go there.
And when did all this, I guess, start happening? When did the working at that other job and this credit card debt start? So was it in 2022, at the beginning of 2022?
Yeah, about, I think. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Well, let's dive into some of the spending and just see where your spending is on these different credit cards. I'll pull up the different credit card statements that we have. I see we have an Apple card, we have a Chase Southwest card, we have a Citi custom cash card, we have a Discover card, we have another Discover card.
No, I said that one because after a certain point, I realized that I really needed to stop spending altogether. So that's why I sent you more than one for.
Okay, so there's a previous.
Yeah. So okay, so we got Discover, the Lowe's card, the Citibank card, the Chase card, and the Apple card.
I see that now.
Yeah, because I'm like, I need to really stop, so I cut it off, and I'm like, there's not much. A couple days.
What's the status of these credit cards? Are you still spending money on them?
No.
When's the last time you spent money on them?
I think the only one that I semi-spend on to keep track of everything is the Apple card, because I put everything to go on one, so it doesn't overdraft in relation to when I get paid, because it throws things off.
Okay, well, let's start with the Apple card then. Mm-hmm. This is a statement from June 1st to June 30th. Mm-hmm. I'll ask you first, budgeting. Do you currently sit down and do a budget or track your monthly spending every single month?
In the last 2 months, I started to, yes.
Do you know how much money you spent in the month of June off the top of your head?
I have no idea, honestly.
Do you know how much money you made in the month of June off the top of your head?
A little over 2,000.
A little over 2,000? Okay. Let's see if it shows in the bank account. We see with $3,400 worth of deposits and credits in the month of June. I guess it's June and July is what this bank. So the statement dates are a little bit different. Okay, well, let's start with Apple. So you ended the month of May with a $3,025 balance on this Apple statement. Yeah. And your total balance as of June 30th was $3,483. So if you pay your minimum payment on this is $81 a month, which if you decide to pay only the minimum payment, that'll take you 16 years to pay off this credit card. So you'll pay $9,000 over the course of the next 16 years if you're making minimum payments alone on this. Mm-hmm. Which that doesn't sound fun. You'll be 41 years old when you're finished paying off this credit card.
Yeah.
Let's see what $3,086 worth of charges on your credit card are, because that's what it's saying. You paid $3,044 towards this credit card, but then we spent $3,086 on here.
That's because every time I'm trying to pay off the other things that are on there, and then as the bills come, they get racked on there, because that's how I've been doing it to keep track of everything. Because with my bank account, it's just harder with that bank for me to figure out how I'm spending everything.
Okay. So let's go through these transactions. We've got apple.com, pay $16 a month to Apple. Is that for a subscription app? Do you know? $15.93?
Yeah, I think it's a subscription for something. I don't remember what it is.
I think subscriptions, make sure we're cutting all those out right now. Can't afford to have subscriptions.
Yeah.
Any of that right now. If you're debt free, if you want subscriptions, let's do it. But
yeah,
now
it's not subscriptions for me, it's for the family. So it's not just myself, unfortunately.
I would say you need to cancel those still, whether it's for you or for the family. if you can't afford your bills, you can't sit here and drown yourself to be able to keep other people afloat watching Netflix or subscriptions. It's kind of like the saying with putting your mask on an airplane. If you put other people's masks on first, you're going to die. Right. And in this instance, if you're paying for subscriptions for Netflix or for Hulu or whatever for the family, you're not putting your own mask on first, not taking care of yourself first and foremost, which is going to hurt the family in the long term as well. So whether it's a family, that needs to be a family conversation. Hey, mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever, I can't afford to do this anymore. And I'm going to have to cancel it. And if one of you wants to pay for it, you're welcome to. I won't use it because I can't pay for it anymore. I won't be using it. But if you want to, you can gladly sign up. I unfortunately can't afford this anymore. But that needs to be a conversation we had, because you can't sit here and drown yourself in paying subscription things. If it's a necessity, like if you're in charge of utilities for the house or whatever for what your part, obviously you got to pay for that. But if it's, hey, this is an entertainment thing, this is Disney Plus or Hulu or whatever, then that's not a necessity. People don't need that to survive. So we got June 1st. We have $150 on PayPal. What is that for?
So that was for, I'm generally trying to also get into acting. So that was for my agent. I had to give them money for that.
You have to pay for an agent. Okay. I would say, are you making any money from acting right now?
I am making some extra.
And how much do you have to pay? Do you have to pay that monthly to your agent?
That was just a one-time thing, thankfully.
Okay. As long as you're making more than 150.
Yeah, I've made that back and a little bit more, actually.
Okay, good. And make sure you're tracking your expenses too with that, because being a sole proprietor, you need to keep track of your expenses too, that account for that. So June 2nd, Afterpay, $44.38. What are you buying with buy now, pay later?
That was something for my sister.
So you're buying subscriptions, but also you're buying stuff for siblings.
I'm like a third parent at my house, so yeah.
How old's your sister? 14? It's a tough world to be in. Is it a necessity item?
It was, actually. She needed shoes. She don't have many shoes.
How much were those shoes if they're $44 per payment?
I think a little over, almost $200. I think that's what they were.
$200 shoes? She doesn't need $200 shoes.
She wanted those specific shoes.
I mean, I'm all for getting her shoes if she needs shoes, but you got
months. She's not gonna get any other shoes.
I mean, she doesn't need those shoes. I mean, if it's a dire situation, or like she needs shoes, like shoes got holes in the bottom of them, take her to Target, Walmart, whatever, and get shoes. But to sit here and spend $200 on shoes when you're $60,000 in debt, you're just not taking care of yourself.
I mean, I have everything else I need, so I didn't mind.
But you don't, because you can't afford anything right now.
Outside of what I can't afford, I don't need anything else. That's why I'm just mostly focusing on the debt part.
Well, you're not focusing on the debt if you're buying your sister $200 shoes.
It was a one-time purchase.
I'm sure that's will be a lot of these in here then as we go through. So we got Air Canada, I think. Is this Air Canada for $1,046?
That wasn't mine. That was for my brother and his friend. They wanted me to buy their trip. I didn't buy their trip. They gave me the money to.
They paid you for it?
Yes, they gave me the money specifically for it.
Why did you buy their flight because we have two transactions for $1,046 on here?
Yes, and they gave me the money on it. So I paid it already.
Where did they transfer that money to? I don't see that coming through here.
I don't know how it translates, but they gave me the money for it. I don't know how it looks on the statement, but because there's at least $2,000 that was paid on there.
Okay, as long as I don't see that. It might have been before this. The statement starts June 16th.
Yeah,
so maybe
before, because it was a week, I think, before the statement came out, I think.
Okay, I would
give money for that. I didn't just pay it. I would not pay that for them.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, because
you bought travel protection for them as well.
Yes, they paid for all that. I didn't pay that.
Okay. I was about to be alarmed by it. That's $2,200 in travel right there.
No, they definitely paid that because they're just younger men that don't know what they're doing, so they had me do it for them. So, but they definitely gave the money for that. Okay. That was put in there.
Are they in debt? Do they need to get their finances in order? They're spending $1,000 on a week-long trip?
No, I don't think my brother's in a lot of debt, but he is struggling, not as much as I am, but he is struggling a little bit also.
He shouldn't be going on trips for $1,000 then if he's struggling.
Yeah.
Tell him to come on the show and we'll talk to him next. You can't afford to go on $1,000 trips if you're struggling. It's just not how it won't help anyone there.
No, it doesn't.
So we got Dollar Tree for $13. We got Imperial Perfumery, if I pronounce that right, for $11. We got an AT&T prepaid card for $26. What is that?
I think I paid my phone bill with the $18. I don't remember exactly because that makes sense because I have AT&T for my phone.
Okay, we got Burger King for $8. We got Apple.com for another $2. We got another Afterpay for $44. I'm assuming that's the second payment for your sister's shoes.
Yeah.
So we got $88 in shoes so far this month.
Which is weird because it was supposed to be like monthly, but I don't know why it's set up that way. But
there's 3 payments this month. There's one on the 2nd for $44. We got one on the 15th, and we got one on the 28th, all for $44.38.
Then they didn't translate it correctly on the bill because it wasn't all at once. It's weird.
We need to get rid of that anyway, not do it again. So,
that shoe is already paid off.
Okay,
so that's not a thing anymore.
It shouldn't have been a thing from the beginning, but we're here. Okay, so we got what else? We got going to the cinema. So we got $40 going to the movies.
I didn't pay that. I just used the card because someone gave me cash. And I didn't have the cash with me, but because my sister wanted to go to the movies, we made sure my dad paid that. I didn't pay that. We got
more Apple.com bills for $9. We've got pet insurance, it looks like, for $95. Mm-hmm. We've got college. Is this part of the student loan payment for $136?
Yes, it is.
So you're putting student loan payments on a credit card that's at 27% interest. That's already also student loans that are probably at 5 or 7% interest.
No, that one was for a class I took specifically, so that's separate.
Okay. Website hosting, we got building a website for $50 right now to help with acting. We got Comcast, paying $131 a month for Comcast.
Yes.
What was that? Is that for the entire house for the family?
Yeah.
And what does that include? Do you have like TV, cable, and Wi-Fi, or is that just one of those?
Yeah, it's for all of it.
Okay, that should maybe be another discussion too at this point with, hey, we can only afford Wi-Fi. We'll cut it down to $50 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But between that, you got
like one thing. It's just a whole bundle. It doesn't let you do just the one.
You can look at different providers and only do just Wi-Fi as well, though.
We only have that around our area. The others don't come here, unfortunately.
Okay. I would look and see because $131 a month for everything is not cheap there. So. We got Cumberland Farms, another $20 at Eating Out.
No, I think that's gas.
Gas, okay. And then we got Netflix for $20. Another thing that needs to go.
Yeah.
Few things there when it comes to. I'm glad the travel is not yours.
So
no. If we get rid of the travel.
Go anywhere.
Okay, if we get rid of the travel, about $800 in expenses, which is still not nothing. A lot of that's the Comcast. We got Netflix. We got the college class. We got pet insurance. We got a lot of little charges. We got the Afterpay with the shoes is $150.
Yeah, the little charges don't hurt me as much. It's just the overall interest in payments that are.
Yeah, well, the little charges hurt because if you do that every single month there's probably 20 different little charges on here, and if they're $2, $3, $4, $8 each, those add up to $100+ a month. So. But the interest definitely does. I mean, you got a $3,000 balance, and the minimum payment is $81, and probably let's see what it shows. Interest charge for the month was $16. Mm-hmm. So only $700 was subject to interest because of new transactions and payments. Mm-hmm. But what is this on here? You have Apple Card monthly installment.
Yeah, because a few months before I needed a new phone.
So you financed an $800 phone.
That I did.
Was it new iPhone 12 or 13 or whatever it is?
Yeah, the 13. Because I was originally just going to buy my old phone, but they stopped making that, so I couldn't just buy that.
Did you ever think about buying a used iPhone?
I tried, but there was nothing there. So
there's a website I use called swappa.com. You can buy used iPhones for $200 to $400, and they work flawlessly.
Well, I usually get a phone every 3 years, so it was time to get rid of that one.
So we got $3,000 on the balance, but that doesn't include the $400 you have remaining on your iPhone. So you've had that iPhone for a year now. Mm-hmm. Monthly payments are $33 there. And so we had $16 in interest charge, but we have $250 year to date in interest charged, which is not fun. Things we need to cut on here: Eating Out does not need to happen. When it comes to stuff like the Apple.com bills, the Netflix bills, the Comcast bills, you need to be in conversation with the family as well. I mean, you're in over your head drowning right now in this credit card debt. So it needs to be figuring out how do you cut that up? What can you cut out and start making some changes on that?
Yeah.
Let's go through the next credit card we got. So we've got this Southwest Rapid Rewards with a balance of
traveling.
That's a travel. What'd you say?
That was when I was traveling, so I had that one for traveling.
You took out $6,000 on a credit card to travel.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Well, I didn't have. Well, I had been traveling a lot to California specifically.
Okay, and what were you traveling for?
Just to generally do a few different shows. I know there was one I traveled to Florida, and then I do also have some friends and family in California as well. That's why.
So these shows that you're traveling for, were they not paying you enough to be able to travel to cover these costs?
Some were, some weren't, but since I'm like fresh into the industry, that's why it didn't matter at the time, because I knew I'd still need to spend some to like do that.
Spending $6,000 isn't justifiable for that.
Well, that's not just only on that. I know I spent other stuff on it.
Okay, so we'll look at last month. So we started the balance, it's $5,600. You paid $200 off, $206. But then we spent $182 on it, and then our interest was $135. And you're over your credit limit on here as well right now.
I was, yes. I tried to ask for help to try and like get like the interest rate either lowered or have like just a set payment or get on like a program, but they wouldn't help me out with that.
Are you still spending money on this Southwest card? Have you closed it down?
No, it's still there. I just don't spend on it. I just
that card needs to get cut up so you don't spend on it. But during this, so this statement is from March and April. We spent more stuff on Apple. We got $20 at Walmart. We got $20 Netflix.
I switched everything all to the Apple card.
Okay, so you pushed everything to Apple.
Yeah, so that way it just keeps track on one.
We got Walmart, Target, and Adidas. So new shoes again on Adidas for this month. Well, I guess that was April. But yeah, I mean, right now you've paid $500 in interest year to date on this card, and that's hitting over $100 a month right now.
Yeah.
Unless we figure out what to do there. So now we'll go to the Citi card. So the minimum payment on the Citi card is $281, and that will, if you pay $281 for the next 16 years, it'll be paid off. So same thing with this one. This is for March and April. So I'm assuming the balance is probably higher due to interest now.
No, actually, for the Discover one, they have a program with me. So I'm paying a lot less instead, which is helpful.
So you're paying less on the minimum payment, but you're going to be paying the same amount of interest.
No. With that program, it's just one set price. They're not changing anything for about 6 months.
How long does that program go on for?
6 months.
And what happens in 6 months?
In 6 months, they can either extend the program or I can just go back to how it was before, but they have that, so I can just try and keep up and then review what we can do.
So it's like a 6 month no interest payment program right now?
One set price, and then they're like, you can either pay that set price or pay more in between that time, so that way I can catch up. And
it's not charging any interest at all during this time? No. Well, that's good at least, because I'll be throwing as much money as possible at that as I can right now.
Yeah.
Before the interest starts going back. But I mean, this one, the Citi card hit $118 a month in interest. Mm-hmm. And this was with 227 in purchases on here. Mm-hmm. So we had,
which also didn't do a program either.
Some more shopping. We got Burlington stores, TJ Maxx, LA Fitness. You paid $45 to go to LA Fitness in California for one time.
It's not in California. It's also out here.
Okay. It says it shows the area that is California.
But they have locations out here.
More Burlington. We got gas. A lot of interest, but not many transactions there.
No, because I stopped using
Discover card. Ooh, $315 on the Discover card in interest for June. Mm-hmm. What's the balance on this Discover card?
That is the highest one at 11,000.
I see. I guess you at least got your $5.41 in cash back bonus on these. So you paid. So for the month of June, $315 in interest, but you got your 88 cents in cash back. And then for the month of April to May, you had $234 in interest, but you got your $541 in cash back. Frankly, what you should do is you should throw all your credit cards away, cut them up, never swipe them again, even your Apple card, because just looking at these, obviously utilizing credit cards is not in your best interest because it got out of hand. And if you have only used a debit card, it will force you to literally only spend money they have in your bank account.
The only reason why I have it on everything on that one credit card is because my bank doesn't process things correctly. So a lot of the times it'll say I'm overdrafted when I'm not. So that's why I don't do that, because I don't trust my bank
But
at this
you
moment.
can't afford to use a credit card right now. The only way you can use a credit card, and you should use a credit card if you don't carry a balance on it. And right now we got $28,000 in credit cards, so you shouldn't be using credit cards.
Yeah, so then maybe I should look into another bank, because I don't.
Oh yeah, look at another bank and get a debit card and use that, and only use a debit card, because right now with even the Apple Card, there's stuff on here that you're spending that you shouldn't be spending money on, and if it's just accruing a balance. I mean, over the last month, you spent $50 more than you paid towards this, so you just be making sure that you're not spending a single dollar over what you can afford. And right now, you can't afford anything. Now on the Lowe's balance, we have a $3,300 balance on that. Minimum payment's $148, and that'll take you 12 years to pay off doing that. So we had $72 during this time period in interest charged, $41 in fees, $168 in purchases, but only paid $105 down. So this balance went up $200 in the month of May. And we are back, everyone, back with Ashley for, you probably just saw a change of scenes, but we were talking the other day and a storm came through Massachusetts. She lost her Wi-Fi. So we are back online to finish up this conversation. And good news, we're going to talk about some of the progress that's already been made since our conversation 2 days ago now. So within 48 hours, she's already making changes, already bettering her financial future, and we'll get to it. So Ashley, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're going to now start with reviewing the bank transactions. So we went through a bunch of the credit cards. We saw all the different debts and the expenses that were kind of going through some of those different credit cards. I mean, we got 6 or 5 different credit cards with the $28,000 in debt right now. But let's go through these bank statements and see what are some other things that we can kind of change up through here. So let's go through this. We got a bunch of transfers to different accounts on June 16th. I'm not sure if you transfer them to your other accounts.
Yeah, because I have one account to keep track of all my bills. So that way, generally, I don't usually spend that money. That's my general logic, to try and keep it all in one spot instead of just swiping my card and not knowing what I'm doing.
Okay. So now we got eBay, $5.99 on eBay. What did you buy on eBay on June 16th?
I honestly don't remember.
If you can't
probably
remember,
something stupid.
It wasn't a necessity, and with $28,000 of credit card debt, you shouldn't be buying stuff on eBay. That's not a necessity. We got Old Navy, June 16th, $22. What is that?
That was a purchase for my baby brother. My mom definitely paid me for that back.
Your mom paid you back for that? Okay.
Yes, I think he needed a Sunday outfit.
Urban Outfitters, I think, for $8.50 on June 16th.
Probably something I got that I didn't need.
Okay, so there's at least $14 right there between eBay and Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
I don't know what this merchant purchase terminal is, but we have $23 on June 20th. Oh, Wingstop. There we go. $20 eating out at Wingstop.
That was for my sister. I didn't buy that. My brother paid me the money for that.
Okay.
Because he was treating her for her graduation.
That's nice of him.
Yeah.
We got Walmart, $7.57.
I don't remember what that was for.
McDonald's, $3.41.
Probably also for my sister.
We've got Gulf Walpole gas. Okay. We've got transfers back and forth. More gas. Another eBay for $24.83.
I don't remember what that was either.
Okay, so eBay needs to go.
Yeah.
More gas. Transfers. A lot of gas stations here. Stop and Shop. $13. That's not gas, is it? It is. Yeah, the gas station every other day. We got Shell, we got Stop and Shop, we got more Shell.
It depends on what I'm doing, because my job I was going back and forth, so it was not close. Yeah,
that makes more sense.
Unfortunately, I was using more gas,
spending a lot of money on gas. We got more eBay. This is $1.05 on eBay, and then $3.31 or $3.13 on eBay.
Yeah, I don't know what those were.
Dollar Tree, $10.63.
Those cleaning products.
So a lot of this is gas, but then we got the little ones with eBay, with eating out at Wingstop. I mean, right now, $28,000 in credit card debt. You shouldn't be eating out at all. Should be trying to spend as minimal as possible on gas. I mean, I know you have to commute for work, but trying to figure out how to cut your expenses. I mean, right now, I was doing some math when our call disconnected. just trying to understand kind of what your timeline is, like how to get out of this credit card debt with interest rates and stuff. Because I don't want you to be sitting here paying the minimum payments for these credit cards for the next 16 or 20 years, whatever that it has on the statements. And I know you don't want that either. And frankly, to be able to do that, you got to figure out ways. How do you apply more money every single month than what's the minimum payments? And right now, between your 6 credit cards, we have $1,052.37 in minimum payments. So you're making right now about $2,000 a month after taxes, and that means $1,052 is going towards that. But then we have car loans and student loans on top of that. With student loans resuming, that's $1,600 in minimum payments.
Right.
And if you're just paying the minimum payments, that means this car loan is going to go on for the life of that, which is probably another 4 years. We got the student loans, probably about 10 years. And we got the credit card loans that are going to be probably 10 years at least as well.
Right.
So the issue right now is debt payments, which is $1,600 a month out of your $2,000. We've got to figure out how do you increase your income, because you're not going to be able to make any progress on this without literally not spending any money. The bare minimums, I mean, all the subscriptions, all the cable, whatever, you spend with the family, you got to have conversations with them and say, hey, I can't afford this anymore. The car, I don't know what your options are with the car. That's something to look into as well. But the car might need to go. I know you have a job.
I need it to get to work. So
is there any public transportation?
Not close enough. I still would need either to Uber from wherever I end up taking the train. So that doesn't make any sense, because doing more money that way.
Do you know what your car is worth right now?
I have no idea.
So what I would do is I would look and see what your car is worth right now. The issue is your interest rate, frankly, is really low at a 3% interest rate. So like, even if you get a $10,000 loan or a $12,000 loan and get a cheaper car, you're probably still going to have probably $300-ish payment. So save like $100 a month, but $440 a month is 25% of those payments you have right now. So it is still a big chunk. So I really like, after this, look into options. What is your car worth? If it's worth $25,000 and you can go and sell it for $25,000, take $2,500 cash, and then get a small loan for $3,000 or $4,000 and get like a $7,000 car. It's not going to be pretty, but it can get you from point A to point B and cut out $400 a month that can be going towards these credit cards, and that's going to help you get out of this a lot quicker. So I would just suggest looking at that, frankly, as quickly as possible and see what are your options there. Because that is that is your largest minimum payment. Obviously, it is the lowest interest rate with 2.99% compared to the credit cards, but it is an option that you can sell. You can't sell the credit cards and get out of it. So just trying to point out options and ideas. But that being said, with $1,600 minimum payments for you to get out of this, one, you already mentioned, you said you've already canceled some of the credit cards, correct?
I can't cancel on them until I pay them off.
Did you cut them up?
But I don't have them.
Okay. Put them in a drawer, cut them up, whatever.
Yeah, they're gone.
Can't swipe them ever again, but you need to get those out of the site so you stop putting money on it, because you're just going to find yourself in a cycle that, hey, I'm going to swipe it on here and spend money I don't have. But that's
I don't carry them with me, so I don't
don't carry them. Don't even know where they are. Go light them on fire, or that's probably not safe for the environment. But
but I have no idea where they are right now anyway.
Then it needs to stay that way. And you need to be figuring out what is your plan here. But really, you have a couple of different options. Are you familiar with the snowball method or the avalanche method for getting out of debt?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 routes. The avalanche method is you take whatever, no matter the balance of the loan. So right now, between the credit cards and the car loans, you have 7 different essentially debts right now, different ones. And so with the avalanche method, you start the highest interest rate first, no matter the balance, and you go attack that one first, because of interest payments is going to save you money in the long term.
Okay.
Personally, what I would do in this situation is do the snowball method. It's not going to change the order much. I'll do the snowball method with the credit cards first. Okay. And the snowball method is you take the smallest loan, you pay the minimum payments on everything, and every single dollar that you can pay over goes towards the smallest loan first. So in this instance would be the Apple card, that's $3,117. Okay. That's your smallest loan right now. It has an interest rate of 27%. The minimum payment is $81. So all the minimum payments you'll be making, which is $1,600 a month. And if you can put $1,800 or $1,900 towards total against all these loans, so an extra $200 or $300 a month, you're going to go all towards the Apple card. That's $3,000 first. And you're going to pay that balance down as quickly as possible. And then once that's paid down, all of that money that you were using towards the Apple card, you're going to put that towards the Lowe's card, which is $3,300. And then you're going to cycle that from the smallest loan up to the largest loan. I would do that with all the credit cards first. And then I would do, so you got you go to the $3,100 card, then you go to the 3,300 Lowe's card, then you go to the City card, which is 4,800, and the Southwest card, which is 5,700, and then the Discover card, which is 11,000. So you'd go in that order, and those are all 27, 28% interest rates. And once you kind of get to the second one, the third one, you'd be able to use all those minimum payments and use that towards the next card, which is just going to be a snowball effect, allow you to pay it off quicker. Okay. And the best thing is you'll start getting momentum. You'll pay off the Apple card and you'll be like, okay, wow, maybe I can do this. It's the first card and I'm making progress. And then once you get the second card paid off, you'll be like, I'm invincible. I've paid off 2 cards. I still got 3 to go, but you're getting momentum. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It's a lot harder.
I never thought of it that way.
It's a lot harder to stop once you start getting momentum. And you'll be able to start doing that. So by the time you get to the 4th and the 5th card, it's going to be easy for you. You're going to be like, okay, this is easy. I got so much more money every single month to go throw towards these. The minimum payments of the other ones are gone. And you'll be able to get out of this debt a lot quicker. Yes. And it might mathematically be not, granted, all the cards are 27, 28%, but some people will say you should go after the highest interest rate first. That's 28% versus a 27% interest rate one. Frankly, they're all astronomically high, so it doesn't matter in my case. I would rather psychologically, hey, let's get some minimum going. Let's see that I can do this and I can make traction. Because if you go after the $11,000 payment first, you're going to be throwing like $100 at it, and you're going to feel like you're going nowhere. You're going to see it go down $100 every single month or week, whatever it is, versus the Apple, you put $300 towards that. Okay, great. That's 10% gone. Versus you put $300 towards 11,000. Great. You got knocked off 3% there. Okay. So psychologically, you should do that. That's the method Dave Ramsey teaches. I think it's phenomenal, especially in this situation for paying off all these credit cards. But psychologically, that will help you figure it out. And if you start doing that, it's not going to be easy, frankly. But between the 5 credit cards, you have minimum payments of $1,053. Yeah. If you can throw an extra $200, an extra $300 at it a month, and you need to figure out how can I do more overtime, how can I pick up another job to do that?
I actually started more overtime yesterday at my job.
Let's go. Awesome. Yeah. So already making steps in these last 48 hours. That is awesome to hear. So you got to figure out, how can I pick up more overtime? How can I get, how can you get your income from $2,200 after taxes to how can you get it to $3,000? How can you get it to $4,000? An extra $1,000 go towards paying these credit card debts off. So, if you get a time and a half at work and you can work an extra 10 hours a week, an extra 15 hours a week, that will bring you in an extra $1,000 a month. And that will throw every single dollar of that towards this credit card debt. And you'll be able to take your debt payoff right now for your credit cards from what they say on the paper at 12 years or 15 years down to, 3 years, 2 years? It's still going to be a long time. Unless you.
But it would be a lot better than 10.
Exactly. And so your options here, play the hard route where you're in debt and credit card debt for the next 12 years, or the hard is going to be the next 2 years. You're not going to have much of a life. You're going to be working overtime, 20 hours extra a week, and you're able to get out of this. And on top of that, you're still going to have to cut your expenses. You're not going to be able to pay $200 a month in subscriptions or whatever it might be. Figure out how do you cut your costs as much as possible. But that way, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you wake up, you have all the credit card debt gone, which will free up your budget by $1,000 a month that is not going towards minimum payments on credit cards. And then you got the car loan, hopefully will be made progress there unless you sell it before then and find a cheaper alternative. And then student loans, you'll be able to attack those. But by the time you get out of this, you'll be debt free and you'll have an additional $1,600, $1,500 if you're throwing all this, $1,600 at least once you're debt free, that you can go, okay, I can go rent an apartment for myself. That's 25, 30% of my net income. And I can afford to go out to eat, not crazily, but I can afford it in my budget. You can have a budget and start figuring out what you can enjoy in life. Again, it's not going to be easy for the next couple of years, but at least looking at it, I'll send you some different debt calculators, payoff calculators for you to plug in, but it'll at least give you some ideas of, hey, if I throw an extra $50 a month or an extra $200 a month or an extra $400 a month, that might take your timeline from 5 years to 3 years to 2 years, whatever it might be. And that'll give you more motivation as you go along and keep track of it. And you'll wake up in 2 or 3 years from now, you'll be debt free and you'll figure out how to increase your income over that time period, working overtime, maybe find another higher paying job. And then you'll be able to have the world at your oyster at that point. You're still young, start plenty years ahead of you. Now it's like, how do I start budgeting? How do I start investing for the future? And maybe I take 600. Maybe you'll be, we'll call it 28 years old. And instead of paying towards all these debts, you take out of that 1,600, you put 1,000 of that towards investments and you start contributing 1,000 a month. Or we can even let's start lower. We'll start like maxing out your Roth IRA. So you're 28 years old and you max out your Roth IRA. So about a little over $500 a month, and it'd be $540 a month into your Roth IRA. and you do that from when you're 28 to when you're 67, put in good index funds, do you know how much money you'd have when you're 67 years old if you put $540 away every single month from 28 to 61? Give me a guess. $540 a month, so that's about $6,500 a year for the next 39 years once you're debt free at 28.
A lot.
$1.3 million. That's
a lot.
That's assuming that's a lot of money. And that's assuming the 7% interest or annual rate of return. And so if you're putting that in good index funds, that's going to be accounting for inflation. You're going to be in a great spot. You're going to be 67 years old. That's going to give you options throughout life that, hey, I have this retirement account that I'm contributing to every single month. But to get there, you got to be debt free. You can't be contributing $500 a month to in retirement accounts when you got $1,600 a month in minimum payments. So that's something that I want you to get to as well. You get debt free, and then you have all this more disposable income. Obviously, let's look at how do I go live by myself, rent an apartment that's within your means, staying out of debt. I mean, let's start looking at the long-term options of investing in index funds for retirement, Roth IRA. Does your company have 401k, stuff like that? And then you're going to start being able to build real wealth because you're going to have a lot more disposable income. And then you're also going to be able to spend more money. Yeah. If you have $1,600 a month in minimum payments, I'm not saying go spend all $1,600 of that, but maybe, like I said, put away $600 and then $1,000 of that you can use towards a new apartment, towards food, eating out, shopping, whatever it might be. And that will eat up more of your budget, but at least you'll have the ability to set yourself up financially for success versus right now, if you keep these credit cards for the next 12, 20 years, it's going to be hard to play catch up. You're young, you're 25 years old, you're 40 years away till the retirement age of 65, 67 range. Yeah. And so that means you have time on your side to get out of debt, one. And then two, you got 39 years when you're 28 still to start saving for retirement, because I also don't want you to be in a situation where you're 67 years old, Social Security is gone, and you're debating or you're dependent solely on Social Security being around when you're 67 versus saving for retirement. You wake up, you're 67, and Social Security is gone, and you got nothing in retirement. That won't be a good spot to be in either. That'll hurt your financial future. That'll hurt your kids. If you have kids by that age, they have to take care of you, everything else in between your family. So if you can get out of debt, you can start saving for that and be self-dependent versus relying on the government for financial stability. Mm-hmm. What do you think of all that? Do you think it's possible?
Oh, yeah, it's possible. I just need to get it together and do it.
I know you can do it. You're young. You're smart. You're 25. You're gonna be hustling. You already started picking up overtime shifts, and you already started getting rid of these credit cards out of your site, so you're not using them anymore. So you're already making steps 48 hours after our first conversation. Yes. And after this, I want you to sit down. I want you to set a budget every single month. I need you to have your conversations with your family members about,
I can't the budget.
Awesome. Let's go. You're making progress. This is awesome to see. And then you gotta be hustling for the next couple of years. And once you get out of this credit card debt, I mean, frankly, $28,000 of credit card debt, that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's way too much. Spending got out of control. You spent way above your means and found yourself in this hole. And the only option to get out of this is you got to make that decision and say, hey, I'm done with this. I want to get out of debt. And I'm sick and tired of paying $1,100 a month towards these credit cards. I'm going to work my butt off for the next 2 or 3 years, get out of this debt, hopefully sooner than that. And then you're going to have the world of opportunities once you're debt free. But
that's what I want to do.
Let's do it then. I'll send you a bunch of resources and stuff after this.
Yes, please.
And just for you to learn, start consuming finance content. Subscribe to me on YouTube if you haven't. Everyone watching, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to me on YouTube. If you've learned anything from this conversation with Ashley, if you're in debt, if you want to be on the show, email me.
Don't be me.
Don't get into $28,000 of credit card debt. Before you do that, email me. Come on the show. We'll talk about it before you're in that spot. I want to find people before they get into $28,000 with credit card debt to help them, prevent them from getting there. But start consuming finance content and just learning, educating yourself every single day, and just figuring out how to get out of debt, how to build wealth for the long term, investing. You don't need to be worried about investing until you're out of debt completely, but start educating yourself on budgeting, on ways to make more money. Don't get caught in any get rich quick schemes, but how can you go and apply to higher paying jobs versus you're in right now? How can you get more overtime in your current job and just start thinking about those things? And as you think about them, you'll be more intentional about your money. You'll be more conscious of how much money you're spending and aware of, hey, maybe I shouldn't go buy this at Walmart. I shouldn't go buy this at Target because I can't afford it and because I have credit card debt. So if you start consuming more finance type content or reading about it, then you'll be more conscious about your decisions and you'll be a lot better off in 10, 15, 20 years than without doing that. So really appreciate your time both days, a couple days ago and then today for jumping back on. And I know it's not going to be an easy couple years for getting out of debt, working a lot of overtime hours, but I do
It's
know you can
okay.
do it. You're young. You got energy while you're young to do it. It's better to be in credit card debt when you're 25 and you can work 100 hours than when you're 90 years old.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know you can do it. Just make sure you sit down, start budgeting your money, start cutting every single expense that is not needed. Stop eating out,
Yes.
stop subscriptions, stop ordering stuff online,
Mhm.
and start hustling, tracking everything, and being conscious about your money. So,
Right. Yes.
well,
Thank you.
Ashley, well, thank you very much. What's the biggest lesson you've learned today being on the show?
I definitely need to budget and have more control of what I'm doing and really just generally keep track and not use credit cards anymore.
You're not a credit card person, so
No.
you should not have credit cards if you have $28,000 of credit card debt. So
No.
let's get rid of that, and
No
that's going to
more.
help you a lot more in the future. So, what advice would you give to someone in a similar spot to you right now?
Um, like you said, definitely learn more about money because honestly, I realized how much I really didn't know about money until like coming on the show and really learning more. And I'm like, wow, I really know nothing about money.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like,
and that's the point of the show. I want to educate, help people learn about money. It's not talked about enough in the world. People think
mhm,
credit card debt's good or car loans are good, etc. And that is the American dream right now: is having $20,000 in credit card debt, a $50,000 car loan, and having $100,000 in student loans. And like that's not a dream in any situation in my eyes. Oh, in the
no,
bank right now, you owe the bank $1,600 a month in interest or in minimum payments. That does not sound like the American dream to me.
no,
So that's the goal of this is, hey, I want to help people like yourself learn and figure out what is your path forward. Your path forward right now is work overtime, cut your expenses, and let's figure out an actionable plan, do the snowball method to get out of this debt. And you're going to wake up to, again, it's not going to be easy. The next 2 years, you'll be out of debt and you'll be in a much better financial situation than you are right now. So
yes, that's the goal.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Ashley. And if you're watching this show, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.